Turn now to the Trump administration continuing its content review at Washington's Smithsonian Museums. The White House official leading the charge, Lindsay Halligan, is now speaking out about the plans. In an interview yesterday, Halligan shared that she thinks the museums overemphasize slavery when they should be focusing on, quote, how far we've come.
Classrooms shouldn't be stages upon which teachers can preach their various indoctrination masquerading as eternal truths. And similarly, museums that are over 70% funded by the federal government shouldn't be laboratories for political experiments. And so what we're doing is we just sent a letter to the Smithsonian asking for all information regarding their exhibits and their placards to try to get to the bottom of what happened and where the Smithsonian went wrong, and try to make the Smithsonian amazing and great and live up to what the president wants the Smithsonian and DC to be. It's not about whitewashing, it's all about full context. So while slavery is obviously a horrible aspect of our nation's history, you can't really talk about slavery honestly unless you also talk about hope and progress. And I think we need to be focusing on the progress that we've made since then, and we need to stop focusing so much on the lack of progress.
So in that letter sent earlier this month, Halligan requested details on exhibits and placards at a number of Smithsonian museums and said the goal of the review is to make D.C. a place all Americans want to visit. Eugene Robinson, she also said, as we just played, she wants to bring the Smithsonian in line with how President Trump views Washington, the museums, the nation's history. And certainly, as we've talked on the show the last couple of days, charting the progress of the nation, yeah, that should be part of this. But ignoring, by whitewashing, by downplaying our history, our greatest sin as a nation, that's not good for our democracy. That's not good for our health of our nation. And certainly, that's not the role of this museum.
It certainly is not. To align the Smithsonian Museums with Donald Trump's view of history would be ahistorical, and frankly, it would be obscene. It would be an obscenity. It would be a denial of our history. I don't know if these people have ever been to the American History Museum, to the African American Museum on the Mall. If they do go there, they might learn something about our history. They might learn that, yeah, there was slavery for 250 years in this country, in this land. And then after the Civil War, which outlawed slavery in the South, there was Reconstruction for a few years, and then there was Jim Crow. There was Jim Crow discrimination and repression. There was you can only ride in the back of the bus. There was you cannot vote, which was the message to black people in Orangeburg, South Carolina, in my youth. So this is not that long ago. So the idea that there was slavery and then all of a sudden the Civil War expiated all sins and everything became roses, and it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's simply not true. And the African American Museum is a great museum, one of the Smithsonian's most popular museums. It's always like number 3 on the list, and people are moved by it and inspired by it because it moves as you ascend through the museum. It moves from slavery and an honest and frank accounting of slavery and what it meant and what it felt like, upward through Jim Crow, upward through the myriad contributions that African Americans have made to this country, not only fighting in every war we ever fought, but in culture, in literature, in every sphere of life. And in the end, it is a joyful journey. It is an inspiring journey as you make your way through that museum, which I have done many times. And they either don't feel that or they just haven't bothered to look and to go there and look. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that we're going to forget our history. It's not going to happen.
I thought it was fascinating, Carlos, listening to that Ms. Halligan from the White House there, and the care with which she chose her words. Basically, she didn't even really want to say the word slavery. She called it lack of progress, and the comparison between progress and lack of progress. What's the political aim here? Who is the White House talking to when it talks about this, and what are they really trying to do?
Well, look, I think, as is typical for this White House, they're talking to their base, and they're trying to make the point to their base that the left has been lazy about celebrating the country. I think that's been true in some cases. But how can we correctly and fully celebrate the country without acknowledging where we started? I mean, it is a remarkable journey, right? The journey of African Americans and other minorities in this country. A lot of ground has been gained, but how can we fully appreciate that without recognizing where we started? There's nothing mutually exclusive here. We can celebrate the country. We should. This is the greatest country in the world. I think, in the past, maybe some in the left have struggled to say that. They should, but that doesn't mean that the right should now try to erase where we started, where we came from, how difficult it has been for a lot of people in this country, right? So, and look, as we zoom out and think about the politics of this, here's the President of the United States trying to control culture, the arts, obviously politics. There's a question, and Claire remembers this, in every poll that your pollster will do, there's a question that people get asked: do you support a candidate that will help the president advance his policies, or do you support a candidate that will serve as a check on the president and his power? I think the more Donald Trump tries to grow this power footprint, right, the more you're going to get people answering that they want a check on this president, and that is going to put a lot of congressional Republicans on defense heading into next November.
Trump trying to expand his power throughout American society, not just in politics. MSNBC analyst and former Congressman Carlos Curbelo. Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning. We now